I'm Carla. I'm an executive editor at Entertainment Weekly. I'm so happy to see you guys here and to talk about a show that I really enjoy, and I'm assuming that you really enjoy too, Mozart in the Jungle. So without further ado, please let me introduce the reasons why you are here. Please welcome to the stage Gael García Bernal, Lola Kirke, Malcolm McDowell, executive producer and showrunner Will Graham, creator and executive producer Paul Weitz, and executive producer Caroline Barron. How are you? Good to meet you guys. Sorry to be a disaster. How are you guys doing? Good. All right. Well, let's get right to it, because the end of season 3, Rodrigo and Haley finally got together. The will they or won't they was answered. They did. And now, the interesting thing to me about that was that as soon as they did, Haley had a vision, much like the ones that Rodrigo has. She saw Nannerl, Mozart's sister, who was overlooked in favor of her brother's talent, although some say was even more talented. And I thought that was a very interesting thing, that they got together. Now we've started season 4. You guys just watched the first 2 episodes, and they were very much together. But I see hints that maybe there are going to be some challenges to this relationship. The two of them working together, being together. You know, Rodrigo is officially Haley's boyfriend, which he keeps pointing out over and over again. So are there those hints there? Are we supposed to be a little bit kind of maybe wary of this relationship or worried about the two of them? What do you think?
No challenges whatsoever. Those hints are
They live happily ever after.
There are no
just like everyone else.
in the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Rodrigo is quite a... I don't know. I mean, it would be great to be his friend. Going out with him, I don't know. I don't know if it would be, but maybe, I don't know, if maybe...
Be an adventure.
May it'd be an adventure. Sure. For sure it'd be fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe if Haley wants to keep up the fun, yeah.
I think Haley does want to keep up the fun, but that there's also an element of being nervous that people are going to think that she is not getting what she deserves musically because of her talent, but because of her relationship with Rodrigo.
Right. Caroline, something that I wanted to talk about was something that you said. Paul, did I just cut you off?
No, that's
you were going to say,
cool.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Paul.
I just want to talk about Aflac insurance. No, it's really nice when there's obstacles dramatically, which are not from people being mean or crappy to each other, but actually from them wanting the best for each other and actually loving each other. And this is a very natural obstacle. You know, they both love music, and there's a question as to whether this is going to be helpful, whether it's going to be ruinous for Haley's career if she continues to date him.
Yeah.
And Rodrigo doesn't have a phone.
Oh, yeah.
That's the real
Which nowadays
obstacle.
can be really complicated.
I think that's much more annoying for Haley and everyone else than for Rodrigo. Yeah, he's okay with it.
They have to stay together so that he has a phone.
So Caroline, what I was going to say is that you've been vocal in saying that one of the things that you're really proud of about the show is that there are very strong women. They are women in powerful positions, you know, and, you know, of course, or I'm assuming that you guys filmed kind of before Me Too, before Time's Up, but it does feel like an amazing kind of confluence of things. And I'm just wondering how important it is, you know, Haley has a new ensemble and she's going to exclusively feature female composers, and her dad's worried about her life as a conductor because there are so few of them, and she said that's why, you know, that there should be more. How important is kind of weaving that theme into the series?
I think it's really important. I mean, these guys are the writers behind it and the creative team, but we always talk about how important it is to have women represented and to have all people represented, and for it to be very much not like male or female, but just that, you know, it's just what Haley does, and I think that she's an incredible role model, even for someone like me. I sometimes watch the show, I do, and I think, wow, it's incredible that she just like is going off and doing this thing that's so hard and so challenging, and that her boyfriend is doing.
Well, and I also think that it's important to be realistic about the struggles to be powerful as a woman.
Do you think that will we see some of the particular struggles that Hailey goes through this season because she's trying to be a conductor in a world where there aren't that many female conductors? That's not a world that I know that much about, and I'm assuming a lot of viewers don't either, except for the hardcore classical fans, which there are many of your show. Are there particular obstacles to being a woman in classical music?
Well, yeah, I heard some statistic the other day that of the 150 major orchestras in the world, only 4 of them are run by women.
Oh, wow.
So it is an industry that is, mostly
It's
populated
like most
by men.
industries.
Exactly.
Like most industries, but hopefully changing. We're hopefully changing that.
But it would be interesting to actually. I mean, I grew up with a very good friend of mine. She's one of a very famous female conductor called Alondra de la Parra, and her. It's interesting to hear their point of view about it, because growing up they had to fight it. I mean, obviously they reach a point in the when we're playing the music that when we're playing the music, we're already so transgender and so, there's actually all the differences that we are just give more life to the music that's being played in a way. And I mean, most orchestras are composed of people from all over the world, no? And it's incredible to see that and to be, it feels natural to cast people from all over the world, I mean, as well, no? In a show like this, because we're doing, the music. But it would be interesting to listen to Caroline Shaw, for example, what they have to say about all this, no? Because I'm curious as well. I would like to know what their struggles have been in terms of, positioning themselves strongly in the music world, yeah.
And they're also, it's kind of set up from the very beginning with Deborah Monk's character. That's like, there's a lot of girl-on-girl crime, as they would say in Mean Girls, happening on the show as well. And that's, as you said, Lola, one of Hailey's concerns this season as she tries to strike out on her own.
Well, yeah, I think that there's a scarcity thinking that goes into a lot of that girl-on-girl crime, that if, there are these tokenized spots for women in certain industries, and to get those, they're very coveted, and you will have to, maybe, I don't know, do some bad stuff. But I also think that for actors, we have this specific thing where it's like, oh, well, I couldn't play that part because it's for a man. But in the world of classical music and most industries, it's like, the gender is not specified.
Right. And hopefully, well, not hopefully, I guess maybe not everybody would think so, but certain roles are becoming kind of, gender isn't so important anymore. And, obviously, if you go back to Shakespeare, everybody was
a man.
Well, everybody was a man. Hopefully we can, do the opposite, mix it up.
It was so great.
I want to talk about one of my very favorite episodes from last season, which was not yet titled, which was, for those of you that haven't seen it, it was shot documentary style with Bradford Sharp as director, and it was filmed on location at Rikers Island. Can you just talk us through first of all, the inspiration for doing that, why it was important to do that, and what it was like to do it?
That was Roman Coppola's idea, who's one of the creators of the show, with his cousin Jason Schwartzman. And it was kind of, I think one thing that really benefits the show is that because it's about music, it can follow its nose much more than if we were, like the best version of the show is not necessarily like the mousetrap construction of the show, because it's largely a show about people who are worshiping at the same altar. And in that case, the altar was Rikers Island. And it was one of those things where he had this idea and in early stages, and it was like, well, if this actually happens, it's going to have, it's going to show that it was really meant to be, because it's challenging.
Yeah, and he talked a lot about sort of like Johnny Cash and sort of great rock documentaries and wanting to create a kind of analog in classical music to that, but also the way that Roman shot the episode was we just went to Rikers Island, did a concert.
We told them we were coming first.
Yeah, we did it. We just showed up with a very nice gift.
We all jumped the turnstiles.
And shot it on 16 with, I think, 8 cameras. Yeah. And these guys stayed in character and did an incredible job, and I think it was a pretty amazing experience and a pretty unique experience in the context of
And also
making
playing
television.
really, really beautiful music, no? And
Yeah.
complex. I mean, it was Olivier Messiaen's music and a few pieces, and it was really engaging for the people that were listening to it, but also for us that we were discovering it for the first time. I mean, at least me, it was the first time I heard it. It was beautiful, no? It was incredible. Yeah.
And it's an appropriate piece because it was written while he was a prisoner of war in a concentration camp, and it was performed by other musicians who were also incarcerated. And it's about freedom. And I think that, you know, music is able to access that freedom no matter where you are, ideally. And yeah, I mean, that was a really complicated episode to shoot, especially when we're in this moment where Rikers is, you know, should be shut down. Yeah. It's one of the most problematic institutions in this country, where there are hundreds of people who are serving time there before even being accused of being guilty. And it was amazing to be able to go into that space and, I mean, I wasn't actually playing the oboe because I don't, but to sit in an orchestra with other musicians who were playing so beautifully.
It was very logistically challenging for us.
I would love for you to talk about that,
Yeah.
because I can't even fathom.
Well, it was a lot of preparation. We were only allowed to scout a few times, very limited on how many people we could bring in with us. We couldn't bring any cell phones. We had to all park outside and be driven in. Extremely high security, and the logistics of how many prisoners were going to be allowed to be in the field with us was, you know, constantly being negotiated. What time of day, how many times we could perform. So it was really very, very rigid and restricted. But I think there was a real sharing on both sides, on all sides, I should say. I think it was a moving experience for the crew, for the cast, for sure, for the prisoners, and for the guards. And it was a really interesting moment where I think that what the show does so beautifully is really bring people together through music. And I think it did it in that episode, in real life, and also on camera.
And another thing I wanted to add about that experience was the inmates, our guests who were watching, were only able to watch with like weeks of good behavior. That being able to, it was such a privilege to be able for them to participate in that experience. And I think that that puts into perspective, I mean, that's just so wild and heartbreaking in a way, but also puts into perspective how lucky we all are to be able to consume and absorb art with the freedom that we do.
And we had a mural painted for them in their cafeteria when we left.
That's amazing. I mean, every show, you know, every episode has it's a mixture of humor and drama and pathos, and, you know, there's all of it. But that episode was so moving, you know, especially when the inmates talk about their experience, and it seemed very visceral for many of them. And there's this one shot, it was just so meticulous, and there's a bird that flies like over the barbed wire, and all it takes is like, that's all that bird has to do to get out, is just fly right over that barbed wire, and you see the inmates watching it. And it was just, I thought that was a moment where you realize just how intentional every moment of this show really is. And I just
Took
loved it.
days to set that one up.
With the bird.
Real David Lean shot.
Yeah, Malcolm was incredible as the bird.
I wasn't in that episode,
You
so
weren't.
I'm fascinated.
I know.
No, Thomas Pembridge would not go to Rikers because he was too afraid that they wouldn't let him out.
I think the new Thomas would.
We should point out that Warren Boyd is right here, Joel Bernstein.
Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Dee Dee? John? Hey!
Are you all in the cast?
Do we know you all?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. I don't know where to go from there. Well, yes, I do, actually. Let's go to Japan. So one of the hallmarks of the show has become field trips, really. You know, in a way, New York is like another character in the show, and you know, seeing the different sides of New York. But we always take a lot of field trips. So we've already gone to North Carolina this season. Past seasons, we've gone to Mexico. We've spent some time in Venice with, you know, an erratic diva, who was Monica Bellucci's performance was just phenomenal. And Malcolm, that you are going to take your show on the road to Japan this season, is that right?
Well, I know.
Oh.
I'm not taking the show on the road. Actually, there is a conducting competition that Hailey
Highlight.
is participating in, and her boyfriend is tagging along.
With his own job as well, with his other job.
Yes, he has a job as well. I don't know quite what his job is on the thing. I think he's supposed to schmooze with the money, who happens to be a Japanese industrialist, played brilliantly by, what's his name, the brilliant Japanese actor.
By Masaoka.
Thank you, Mati. Yes, well, I'll take you everywhere with me.
And there's a robot.
There's a robot.
Yes.
A good robot or a bad robot?
It's a
Scary
robot. It's a
robot?
robot. It's a robot. It's,
Robot.
it's
Bad
objective.
robot.
Oh, bro. It's
I
objective.
think he's
It's
good.
objective, yeah.
I mean, personally,
He's
I
a
feel like
wonderful voice.
you know, he's just trying to be creative and have his own, have his own feelings, and I think that should be allowed for robots.
Will was
Better
the
or
voice
worse
of
than
the robot.
Bird, would you
Um,
say?
I was the voice.
Um,
I was.
it's a robot that
It's
is
a bit
that-
like Hal, isn't he?
yeah. He is preternaturally calm and
Don't do that,
positive.
Dave.
Yeah, it's a robot or an AI who's had every single performance of Mozart across history downloaded into his memory, and is taking on the task of completing Mozart's unfinished Requiem, which and Rodrigo has to decide if he's going to put up with presenting this concert and conducting it.
But it was really interesting in that, like, I think part of what got us excited about that story was sort of just learning about AI and creativity, and how creativity in general in the arts are sort of not completely the province of humans alone anymore, if they ever were. Like, we should just make sure that there's no robots in the audience. So it was like a really interesting way to kind of explore one possibility of what the future of music is.
Wow. Is there, are there sort of differing views on whether or not this is a good development or a bad development?
Definitely.
No, everyone says
Everyone
it's
agrees?
great.
Okay, great.
And thanks the robots for allowing it to happen.
Yeah, at some point, Rodrigo talks about it'll be great for the robot audience.
That's right.
But I think there is a question there that's, if you understood every piece of Mozart and you knew every performance, would you be better at interpreting that? I guess in a sense, how much of music is math and how much of it is something imperfect.
I mean, it used to. I mean, there was this dilemma. I mean, I don't know. I like this conversation a lot because it's a really interesting thing. I mean, biology, for example, used to be a descriptive science, and now it's a quantitative science. Now it's mathematics. Now it's computers that build up the sequences. And yeah, maybe with music, maybe with certain. I mean, if music is brought down to its core of mathematical, like sublimation, then maybe it is possible that there can be amazing music created by robots. Who knows? Maybe it's already been created and we don't know.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is. Maybe
It is.
Well, some of that stuff you hear on the radio, I'm telling you.
So, as I said, one of the hallmarks of the show seems to be taking these field trips, but another hallmark seems to be bringing in, professional classical musicians like Joshua Bell and Emmanuel Axe. And what is that like when you're an actor and you're playing an instrument or acting like you're playing an instrument in front of kind of some of the people that play that instrument the best in the world? What is that experience like?
I think they are more nervous than we are.
Really?
Well, of course, because they're acting.
Yeah.
And they haven't done it before so they're freaking out a bit, which is lovely. Spike them up a bit by the craft table, No, I'm kidding, but I love to get Joshua Bell at it because he's such a genius, Everyone's up his ass all the time. So it's sort of nice to tease him a bit. But my God, he is sensational, isn't he?
But then, for example, there's people that really just can't do anything, like Plácido Domingo. And he just arrives, comes down the barge, says his lines with great sense of humor, does it, improvises, leaves, sings, goes to do another show in another city, and you go, and you're left like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
how did he do that? No,
It's like, was he ever there at all?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
just
Was he a
flew in like
robot?
the wind. But that was an amazing night, actually. We were on one of the most surreal nights in the making of the show. We were on the Grand Canal in Venice. There was a raft with
Were we getting paid as well?
No,
I didn't think so.
not at all.
That was it.
In fact, we were paying. But Plácido, because he doesn't really know, he's not comfortable lip syncing, he was singing out. And, you know, someone showed us these Twitter or online posts from people that were like, what is that racket? Like in their hotel rooms. Like, well, you can't go to sleep. And they got like a free 3 a.m. Plácido Domingo concert floating up through their windows. It was pretty fun.
But how about Gael, when you were actually conducting the LA Phil at the Hollywood Bowl? I mean, that must have just been in front of Gustavo Dudamel.
Yeah, I don't know if they are more. Yeah, actually, Gustavo was quite nervous, but I gotta say, nothing compares that I've ever experienced about the nervousness I felt going into the Hollywood Bowl and performing there with the LA Philharmonic. Even talking about it, my throat like starts to go.
It was in front of 11,000 people who had not been told that part of the concert was going to be conducted by Gael.
So just imagine. Thank God this is a comedy, because there was a lot of exactly. I mean, everyone was really into it. But it was one of the most. I mean, like I remember it millimetrically, like every step, every shot of tequila I had, you know, before going in, like. Just it didn't work. It didn't work. Like I was just boom, 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 and Gustavo Dudamel just, you know, his indications was just, you know, it's in 2 beats, so just go for it. Just like, but where? How do you? No, just like, you know, yeah, just like that. And you know, and going. I mean, the good thing is that Rodrigo is like, we all know Rodrigo is like one of the best conductors in the world, together with Paul Thomas Pembridge, of course. But we all know that, right? So you go out into the stage knowing that, and you take it up from there. Like you just grab onto that, and then it's like, okay, let's do this. And you see the front line of violinists, and they are like, oh my God, this is gonna be great. And they just go like, let's do it, and it just happened. And there was a moment where I laughed, I smiled, of happiness, you know, because it was, you know, it's like the taking off the plane was okay. So it was like, okay, you know, and it continues, and then I smiled, and I was so nervous that, you know, that point where it gets so dry, the mouth, that one lip stays in like, and it was beyond like anything I could like afford, you know. There was nothing that I couldn't do anything. So I just stayed with this horrendous like face throughout the whole thing, and then as soon as the claps started, we finished, I went like, oh, like, I did like a bow like that involved me, like going like, oh my God, the nightmare is over. So it was, but it's one of the most wonderful things I've ever been put into, and this is so wonderful about this show and about being an actor, is that you can really live those experiences and really like, I mean, it's even hard. My kids still don't believe me, you know, but one day they will. I don't know, they don't believe that I was conducting in front of, they were like, no, come on, that was arranged. And it was, it was a little bit arranged, but not, but I had to tell them when to begin and when to stop. Wow. So, like,
It seems like you guys kind of set these logistically very difficult tasks for yourself. This one sounds like a little bit of a doozy, particularly probably for you, just in terms of, maybe that's not logistical, it's just, I don't know what, mythological.
Well, it was one take as well, because you couldn't do this to the paying audience. Right. You couldn't say, we have to stop, we're going to do this again, because Gael blew the rhythm.
But the Venice, can we talk about Venice for a second? Because logistically, how on earth, like how, I just can't, 2 rafts She sails out into the middle of the canal. There's Placido Domingo. How did that work?
Yeah, at some point it was Placido, Monica Bellucci, Gael, and Wally Shawn at a grand piano on a relatively small raft, along with a 6'8" Steadicam operator and about 6 people in a tail behind him doing a shot where nobody from the crew could be in the shot, like circling. It definitely seemed insane.
Yeah.
And it was
As the one who has to actually execute these ideas, it was really difficult and challenging.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun. You know, these guys come up with amazing things to do, and it's always something that's going to be not easy. That one was really like dealing with so many people in just like in terms of like the different.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was very like, because they were kind of like, we were like, so we can do this? And they were like, yeah,
Well, they
yeah,
were
we'll
like,
see.
yeah, but then we had no permission like the day before.
Yeah, they were
It
like,
was I had to
probably,
sit
yeah.
in a meeting with 30 Italians all fighting with each other about like the fact that we actually had no permission, and I,
Yeah.
of course, couldn't tell them that.
It was like very, they were like, we've got to talk to the government, like, and a bunch of other people or something. And like, it was like kind of not clear what the process was ever going to be for it. But it was
very
like,
We got
Italian
permission
and
in the end.
romantic.
yeah, it was wonderful.
But every place has got its complications,
Oh,
no?
for sure.
I mean, like, in Japan, it was complicated also.
Yeah.
Like,
Piece
I
of
think
cake.
it was
here
fun.
it was complicated. They took us off the road once.
Is that a story you want to tell? What is
Yeah,
it?
but I mean, yeah, you know, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
All right, well, we've got some audience questions that we're going to get to, and then I've got one parting question for you guys. So question for the EPs and creator, what specifically do you look for in auditions? What stands out to you the most?
Personally, if one is auditioning, I try to just treat it like directing and have a good time working with that actor. And the reality is, it's not always like either the quote-unquote best actor or the person who gives the best audition ends up being in the role, because it's really about specificity. And certainly for me, somebody can come in and do an audition for something, and for whatever reason, somebody else comes in and seems to be more the role, but I might keep that person in the back of my head. But also, I just try to be humane. It's like we have a very short time on Earth, and we're all choosing to do something creative. So to me, my approach to auditioning is to try to be respectful and to have a good time working in that moment. And look, I understand it's an awkward situation, but.
Malcolm, question for you. Can you talk a little bit about your acting training?
Yes, very, very fast. I am not trained. I'm a rogue. I didn't go to a drama school, thank God. But I did go to an old lady called Mrs. Harold Ackley, who was housed in the Crane Theatre building in Liverpool, which is where I'm from. And I had a girlfriend that went in to see this woman, and I said, to this girl, where the hell are you going every Friday night? It's pay night, we can go out. She said, well, she said it in a Liverpool accent, which I won't do at the moment, but.
Oh, come on.
She goes, well, I go to see Mrs. Harold Ackley, she's very good with the elocution. I went, oh, that, really? And I did not have a Liverpool accent because I was educated in the south of England. But I was intrigued, and I went to see her, and she was 82, blind as a bat, thank God, and said, read this, dear. And it was a piece of Shakespeare or something. I read it, and she said, you could be a professional actor. And I believed her. And weirdly enough, Mrs. Harold Ackley, and that was on a brass plate, by the way, outside her door, and I thought, why would you call yourself Harold? And I remember I was at a party years and years later, I'd done a few movies by then. I remember finding myself talking to Rita Tushingham, who'd made a big splash in a thing called A Taste of Honey, written by Sheila Delaney. And I was talking to her, and I went, yeah, I went to this woman, Mrs. Ackley, and she went, not Mrs. Harold Ackley. I went, my God, were you with her too? Oh my God, well, that's 2 of us. So God bless her. And she was a silent screen star and suggested to me that when you come into a scene, find a very comfortable sofa, sit down and pour yourself a nice cup of tea and make sure that your pinky is held high. Yeah, that really came in useful. Thanks, Mrs. Ackle.
All right, and this one, this will be our last audience question, but something that I'm guessing a lot of people here are wondering. Will there be a season 5?
It's up to us. There will be.
Yeah.
I think we'll find out soon, but we're optimistic.
Do you already have ideas of where you would have everybody?
We
go?
do,
Yeah.
actually. We've been talking about paying a visit to India, and
Dysentery, here we come.
yeah, mostly yeah.
Oh boy, we're all gonna get the shits there.
As you can tell, everyone in our group's really excited about it, and I think there's a lot of stuff that we want to do. But first, we're gonna put out this season.
Yeah. All right, so this is a room full of actors. What advice would you give them? What advice are you going to give them right now?
Aside
Find
from the
Mrs.
pinky
Harold
thing.
Ackley is number 1.
I guess. Own your judgment of yourself and focus on process and enjoy and realize in the moment how wonderful it is to be doing the act of empathy, which is acting.
That sounds like very good advice.
I'd
Just
say
have a
something-
good fucking time, man.
Yeah.
You know, we are so privileged, and I know that, if you look at the statistics, 90% are out of work at any one time. I'm sure it's probably 95, and I'm sure, that the statistics are terrible. But we knew that coming in. It's really, even in my day, and I'm sounding like this old fucking geezer now, but it was the same thing. They'd say, you want to be an actor? Are you crazy? Are you nuts? But, and I was working as a messenger boy, on my bicycle on Victoria Street in London, zipping around, delivering mail, and I'm just waiting for the phone to get to the audition and just to audition and do it. And of course, you believe in yourself. And it's just yourself. You hang on to that belief because we're all unique. I don't care who you are unique. And it's only one telephone call away.
I want to, yes, just to add on to that also it's very easy, I think, to fall into a pathway that leads this thing that we do into a dynamic of entertainment and a dynamic of an industry that moves along. We're just part of an established route that is already there. But I would say to revalue which is so difficult nowadays, but really to push in the ritualistic nature of this job, the fact that we're really doing I don't know, I feel I engage in something very spiritual whenever we're doing something. I mean, this show gives us that opportunity thanks to the music, but thanks to the fraternal experience that we share, that we all discovering this at the same time. And it reminds me, because it's been a good run now of me enjoying being an actor, really enjoying it and loving it and being really grateful about it, because we get a chance to come and perform a ritual of interpreting archetypes, of connecting with something, of enjoying the complexity of things. And if we don't treat it as that, then we can easily just see it as another job, as another industry, as another kind of, like a mechanical aspect, and we lose the artistic aspect immediately. So it's up to us also to really like put our, like treat this as it should, and if we all do it, then it will again regain that aspect.
And then one thing I just wanted to say that's always really helped me is just to keep in mind this phrase that rejection is protection. So I don't know if that helps anybody else. I love that idea. Yeah, it might have been terrible for you.
On a t-shirt?
Now it is. Canal Street.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for being here. Carolyn Barron, Paul Weitz, Will Graham, Malcolm McDowell, Lola Kirke, and Gael García Bernal. Thank you all.